The war on AAA games. So excited for this.
The strategy big companies have used for making successful AAA games has been relatively simple. Just spend as much money as humanly possible. Hire...
Which is what Hollywood does. It's all... I think it's like, not monopoly shit necessarily, but all stuff in the entertainment industry has gotten to the point now where I realize it. I think they're realizing that it doesn't work anymore. But for almost all of the 2000s, I think they had a success rate in video games and for movies and entertainment TV shows where if they just spent more money, it did better. And so they just kept going, well, we'll just spend more money, and then it does better. Well, we'll just spend more money, and then it does better. And then you have movies like Red One, where they spend $300 million on the fucking movie, and it makes 50. Or you have video games like certain fucking CODs or certain other, like Concord and shit like that, where they just chuck a bunch of money at it, and then it still does bad.
The best and brightest talent in the industry. Spend 10 years and hundreds of millions of dollars on making the best game you can possibly make. Cutting-edge graphics, revolutionary motion capture technology for character performances, 8-digit marketing budgets, 8-digit Dunkin' Donut budgets for employee morale. If it costs a lot of money, it's part of the strategy. This formula has been largely successful for decades.
I think the reason it was largely successful in AAA games as well was because graphics were getting rapidly better the more money you threw at it with modern technology, and also just more spending on other like video game coding, CGI, employees, and what they're able to generate. And so I think the better the game looked, the better it did. Like, you remember, even in like 2016, if the graphics of the video game looked realistic, that shit was hype as fuck. Like, I feel like around COVID, like 5 years ago, if there was a game that looked really good, I'd be like, whoa. And that would motivate you to buy it. Now, a game looking good does not mean the game's good. And I think a lot of games have done that, where they've made the graphics really good and thought the game would do well because it looks good, but the actual writing and premise of the fucking movie itself sucks. And I think that's the same thing with Hollywood, where they throw so much money at so many actors. The movie looks visually appealing. The actors do their job great, but the script sucks. It's the premise of the fucking video game and the premise of the movie that matters. Video gaming specifically, I think they try to, I think AAA games cast too broad of a net. They want to be too many things at once, and they fail at all of them miserably. I think indie games do so good because they just do one thing and they master it, and people are like, this is fucking awesome. Schedule 1, right? Peak. Fucking what else? Even like early fucking Terraria or Minecraft before they were like big.
And it's allowed the richest companies in the gaming industry to generally produce the most popular games in the gaming industry. But in the 2020s, this strategy is beginning to fall apart. Warner Brothers spent $200 million on a Suicide Squad game that flopped.
Oh my god, there's a Suicide Squad game? I remember that! Wasn't that a year ago? I remember watching streamers play it. It sucked. It was they spent $200 million on it. You know what I always get upset about? Yeah, RIP Multiversus. RIP Multiversus. Isn't that also Warner Bros? That shit doesn't exist anymore. That was a good game. They spent so much money on it and then didn't get any feedback from the players, and then it fell off. And I worked with Multiversus, I think. I did a tournament with them for Twitch Rivals, and it was fun. Like, I liked that game. I think that game could have stayed relevant if they didn't just fucking, like, what? They started releasing Gizmo. Like, who are these fucking characters? They didn't really change much. They just started coming out like, oh, yeah, we dropped Rick and Morty. Oh, we're going to drop fucking Gizmo. And these Gremlin characters. I've never fucking heard of that. Come out with other shit, right? Like, I feel like they could have done better if they had stuck to specifics that the viewers wanted. I think that's what these AAA games do. I think they don't listen to fans. I think they come out with something, and then they just fail. And there's other smaller companies that, you know, fail too, but then they'll go back to beta, listen to fans, and then re-release, and it's better. But I think, like, a lot of AAA games just, like, don't listen to their audience and just go, we're going to make this, you like it, or you're not buying it. And you know the master of doing that? Nintendo. Because they have a monopoly on their own genre of game. And it's like, hey, we're going to make this, and I don't care what you want. And they make good games. They do make good games. But, like, Nintendo is so good at going, shut the fuck up, I don't care. I'm going to do what we want to do.
Ubisoft reportedly invested over $650 million into Skull and Bones.
Ooh, we did a sponsor with Skull and Bones. I thought that game was fun. I think it was just missing, like, it missed the vibe that it needed to, like, get a shitload of multiplayer action.
Have you ever heard of Skull and Bones? No, me neither.
Yeah, they had a good soundtrack, though. Hey. Skull and Bones had a top 3 soundtrack for video games. Because I think the premise of, like, a really cool pirate video game is so awesome. I love pirate games. But, like, that's why when Skull and Bones came to me, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. But no, it was fun. But I think it was like, ooh, they only have 182 active players.
Me neither. No one has. No one in the world.
I think it was because the game was really expensive. I'm pretty sure it was like $60. And it was good. But it was like, for a game that costs that much, you're not going to be able to get that many players on off rip to build hype. To convince people to spend the money to buy the game.
Concord's budget was $700.
Yeah, I worked with Concord. I worked with Concord too. That's another thing. A lot of these companies will release games that have big budgets, and they'll pay a bunch of influencers. They paid like 100 streamers to play that game on launch day. More than that, probably like 200 or 300. They paid a lot of people, and I played that game, made a YouTube video for that game. The next day, the day after I posted that video, the game announced that it was going to be abandoned. It was out for like a week. The game was out for a week. I was like, whoa. And now I think there's like consoles that are Concord themed or something they did looped like brand deals with that are worth a shitload because it's just a game that flopped like miserably.
$1 trillion, and that game peaked at 700 players.
I was one of them. Hey. Concord for life.
On Steam. Companies are spending the GDP of some small countries on games that don't even get made fun of in donkey videos. The strategy that once worked so well is falling apart because AAA games are fighting a war, and they're fighting a war on 2 fronts. A war that they're fighting for one of the most valuable commodities in the world: your attention. On the Eastern Front, AAA games are at war with indie games. Indie games in the last 10 years have been taking the world by storm. Once upon a time,
I think the battle isn't even that they're fighting indie games because, yeah, like, the experience of, you know, playing a Call of Duty is more valuable than, like, a $4 indie game. But the price margin is so different that there's no reason for anybody to ever invest into a AAA game. Why would I buy a $60? Why would I buy a $70 Call of Duty game to play it for 7 months, have it fall off, and then them release a new one? I have always been somebody that said that Call of Duty should release once every 3 years. Update their game and just make that game more approachable and attractive to players that don't buy it off rip. Because if you're somebody that's looking to buy Call of Duty and you don't get it in November or December, and you're like, oh yeah, I might get it in March. No fucking point, pal. You're gonna spend $70 on a game that you're gonna buy in March. You're gonna play for 4 months, and then the new one comes out. Same thing with FIFA. It's the same thing with any game. And it's all sports games. It's all Call of Duties. It's any game that has a release every year. I think, yeah, Rockstar is a AAA game. They're never gonna fail because they release every 10 fucking years. They come out with a game every 10 years, and it's bomb. It doesn't matter if the game's $100. You're going to play it for a decade.
Games were only played by the most hardcore of video game hobbyists. They were niche. They had cult followings. But times have changed. The indie games have started bleeding into the mainstream. In 2024, Lethal Company was in the top 10 highest grossing games on the...
Really, $52 million?
2024, Lethal Company...
Hogwarts Legacy, Baldur's Gate makes sense. Starfield, Resident Evil 4, Sons of the Forest, Armored Core, EA Sports. City Skylines 2 made 50 mil.
Company was in the top 10 highest grossing games on the entirety of Steam. It was making similar money to a FIFA game, a Star Wars game, and an Armored Core game. But whereas these three games all had multi-million-dollar budgets with multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns, Lethal Company was made by one guy, a former Roblox.
And indie game devs never care if you make their game better too, which also makes it more valuable. Like when you indie game devs where you're like, hey, here's Lethal Company. We'll release it. It's $7. If you buy the game, mod the shit out of it, I don't care. Because then that gives even more freedom to the player to do what they want, and they can make your game even better. Versus something that's like $60, and then they'll, like, if you fuck with it, they're like, no, we're gonna ban you eternally.
Dev in his early 20s that has been making games out of his bedroom since he was a child. And not only that, but he also kicked off a trend of indie cooperative survival horror games that were all trying to capture the same lightning in a bottle that Lethal Company managed to grab. And those games were pretty damn successful too. And this is just recent examples. The most obvious elephant in the room is Minecraft. A game that started out as an indie game made by one guy that went on to become the best-selling game of all time.
And I think Minecraft sucks now. Not Minecraft as a whole. I think the people that control Minecraft now. The people that update Minecraft suck. Minecraft's still best game of all time. We're going to play Minecraft in November for the SMP. We're going to probably do a modded world in the next month for, like, you know, a short 3-episode series or something. Like, Minecraft's fire. I think just Mojang in general, in, like, how they update their game is so stupid. And I don't even know if that's even a AAA rant. It's more so just like, what are we doing? We're going to update the game once every 6 months. We're going to do a mob vote, and we're going to get the worst one in the game. The fucking top Minecraft YouTubers just skew the vote because their audience is so fucking large that they could just make people fucking bend to their whim and control the game themselves. It's not even up to the individual. It's up to the fucking streamer. And then on top of that, it's like, we're only going to release that many mobs. Update the game. Fuck. Update the game. Why are we fucking... And whenever they come out with an update, I'm like, yeah, you added more. Yeah, there's the caving update. And now you could go to, like, -50. Cool. It's not really that innovative. Come out with a new fucking dimension, Minecraft. Not the end plus. Come out with a new dimension. Do a big bomb drop on me. Like a mod... Like, make an update that feels like I added a mod pack. That's what I want. Like, come out with, like, a weird other dimension that you could go to. Yeah, like the Ether. That would be awesome if they came out with that. Why don't they do that? They have the capability. They'll sit there, dicks in their hands, for fucking 8 months, come out with one update that adds... we're adding the sniffer. The sniffer. The sniffer. That we've had a year. And the fucking thing you're going to come to me is the sniffer. Are you kidding me? You might as well slam my head into the fucking curb. What the fuck are we doing? Out of anything you could come up with? That's the mob we're adding? Yeah, we're going to add pandas. Awesome. Do they do anything? No. Oh.
There's quite a few indie games that crack their way.
Yeah, Terraria. I said that earlier. Oh, Human Fall Flat sold 55 million copies.
Into the top 100 best-selling games of all time list. And you might not realize it, but this puts the entire business model of AAA games into jeopardy. If a single guy can spend nothing but his time on developing a game and can have success in the tens of millions of dollars, then the companies that spend over 100 million on developing a game are in some serious trouble. They can get out-competed by people who spend literally nothing on their projects. And there's 100,000 times more devs spending nothing on their games than there are devs spending hundreds of millions on their...
But do you think that's the devs' fault or the directives' fault? Because I think the people that are developing the game are sometimes controlled by higher-ups at AAA game, like, companies. And so I think it's like the directives. Because I think if you really gave free reign to a lot of devs that work at those companies, they would make something great. It's just... And sometimes that's not true. Sometimes it is like... the devs that have control and they just come up with a stupid fucking idea that sucks. But like a lot of the time, I think it's just like, hey, we want to make something like this. And then a higher up goes, no, we're going to tweak this, and this. And then now the game sucks.
So it only takes a small percentage of those indie devs
But the devs making crazy money working for them, so why would they say no?
to make it big, for the AAA gaming industry to have a lot of competition incredibly quickly. You might think that a big company doesn't care about indie devs having success, but you could not be more wrong. Like I said, this is a war being fought over your attention. They're
I also think that indie devs, with advances in technology, this is just my guess. I'm not great at developing. I'm just assuming with advances in technology and software, it has become easier in proportion to AAA games for a solo dev to make a game. It's like compared to like 2010, it's easier for one guy at his computer with a 30 series graphics card and, you know, just base coding knowledge to make something that's good compared to, you know, back then. Like, obviously, they're still not on the same scale as these people with the mass technology, I guess, expertise and knowledge, but they can still make something that's not on par, but like 40% of AAA games comparable to when it used to be like 10%. Because the scaling of how they've gone together has the indie devs have just gained so much ground.
Every successful indie game is potentially a game that steals the limelight from your billion-dollar mega project. If you're unlucky and you launch your massive game at the same time as some random Roblox furry releases their smash hit, then you could be in some serious trouble. And big companies are noticing this, which is part of the reason why
not even them releasing it on Steam. You're a AAA game company releasing a game at the same time as Grow a Garden and Ink games on Roblox. Grow a Garden had more players than what, any other game? I think, did they have like the most active players? Like a fucking free game, a sim game on another game where he just used the in-game data to be able to make that. Like, he didn't even use outside sourcing.
why recently all of the big name gaming companies have been subtly name dropping
It was all botted. Is that true?
Hollow Knight Silksong in as much of their marketing as possible. The Switch 2 event has 8 seconds of Silksong footage, and that 8 seconds of footage immediately goes ultra viral on Twitter within seconds. And I think Microsoft noticed this, because a little while later, Xbox announced their new handheld console, and throughout the entire 3D rendered trailer, there's Hollow Knight Silksong footage running on the device's screen the entire time. Not some major Microsoft title like Halo or Minecraft, no. Hollow Knight Silksong, a game that isn't even out yet, because they understand the power of the indie game. And the funniest part to me is that they were completely right, because their ad campaign went viral all over the internet, with people getting crazy excited not at the new console, but at the new Silksong footage that they shoehorned into their ad.
Well, and then they go, oh, the new Silksong, I could play that on the Xbox console, on the handheld.
Silksong just gets their ad campaign free engagement. And the icing on the cake to all of this is that
I just think if you're going to get a handheld console that's not a Nintendo, like Switch, you should just get like a Valve, what are those called? Steam Deck.
indie games are cheap. Not just to make, but for the end user to buy. I bought Terraria for less than $10 over a decade ago, and I've played it for 1,500 hours. Hell, I bought a random game called Peak for less than $5.
Bro, that game fucking fire. I'll play it again, dude. That game is so sick, and I've beaten it like twice. Just the premise of like you do the same thing every time, but the map just randomly generates. So it's just a new game every time you play it.
On Steam last week, and I've already enjoyed it more than I enjoyed the majority of AAA games that I've played in the last 10 years.
Dude, especially if is there mods for Peak yet?
Wait, it's giving off particles?
Yeah.
They're like the revive thing. You know, like the revive debug?
So what if?
But you might be thinking to yourself, why now? Why are indie games threatening AAA games now in a way that they didn't 10 years ago? Well, the answer is simple. With every passing year, the barrier to entry for game development gets lower and lower.
That's what I'm saying. It's cheaper to be able to make a game. If you just have, like, your gaming computer, you don't need money.
The development tools get more freely available, the computer hardware people have in their homes gets more and more powerful, and the internet offers more and more tools to learn the trade than ever before. Improving technology also allows developers to sell their games digitally. Back in the olden days, if you wanted your game to sell, you needed physical discs in actual shop.
I think they should pay, I think AAA should outsource money for ideas. Pay people for the ideas of the game, and then they just make it. Do they do that? I feel like that'd be way easier.
And paying for the production and distribution of these physical copies was incredibly expensive. Nowadays, platforms like Steam allows for indie devs to have the exact same level of reach as the most valuable companies in the world. Indie games have always been competing with AAA, but now there's more indie developers than ever before.
Well, and it used to be, it wasn't even just, yeah, you could be on the same Steam page as Black Ops or something. But I think it was marketing as well. I think marketing played a big factor on why AAA games did so well, because they were able to outreach so easily. But with TikTok, short form media, and just modern social media and how many ad placements there are and everything, you can be an indie dev and spend little to no money promoting your game. When Repo came out, which was basically like a spin-off of Lethal Company, the devs just marketed their game by posting funny clips of their game. And people are like, where is this? What game is this? I want to play this, blah, blah, blah. And it just gained a lot of traction and comments and buzz authentically for free. And then they fucking dropped it. It did well. People clip their own fucking funny moments, post those, and then more people want to play the game. It's so easy for people to fucking, not easy, but it's so much more accessible for indie devs to market. That also gives them an edge on AAA games.
Got Roblox, an incredibly popular platform that incentivizes young people to learn how to make games. And speaking of Roblox,
Get Eaten by James Charles. We need to play that.
on the western front of this war, we have what I like to call the forever games. Fortnite.
Fortnite is trying to transfer into Roblox. Fortnite is aggressively making that switch into custom games, and I think they're doing a moderate job at it, but they need to increase the potential to make Roblox random shit. I think like Fortnite obbies and Fortnite-based games that aren't around shooting are limited way more than Roblox is, to where like you could hop on Roblox and play like a horror game that looks like you bought it on Steam. Fortnite, it's like everything just looks like it's on Fortnite, even if it's like a UFI or whatever it is, like whatever, you know, site or fucking software they use. I think Fortnite needs to just step it up slightly, and they'll be able to do that. But that's how they're trying to keep that longevity on their platform, because they know their battle royale is slightly dying. So they need to transition in some form to another, like, gaming space. UEFN, that's what it is.
League of Legends, Valorant, Roblox, Minecraft. These are what you would call live service games. And some of these games have been popular for longer than half of my viewer base has even been alive. These
fucking League of Legends, dude.
Games do not conform to the traditional video game business model, where you develop a game for a while, sell that game for $60, more like $80, and then go back to work on the next game you're gonna sell. Instead, these games are made to last forever. Constant updates for months, years, decades to come. And you sell stuff inside the game to keep the revenue flowing in. And this business model is working incredibly well for a small number of game devs. Most live service games die spectacularly, but the ones that don't make billions of dollars, and they last for decades. And this creates a very strange gaming industry. Most players, rather than playing a new game every few weeks or months, instead, they are playing the same handful of games for 5 to 10 years straight. Sure, when a new game comes out that they're extraordinarily excited for, they'll go.
Yeah, you always go, when a new game drops, you go and play that game, but then you always return to the same live service game at some point. And it's really hard to enter this space, but once you're in it, you're stuck in it, and that's what you want to do. And that's what, like the most recent one that I can think of is Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals really wants to be a live service game similar to Valorant or Overwatch. They want to be the new hero shooter that everybody plays, And if they're able to solidify themselves in that, that game will stay popular for a decade.
And play it. But games that are able to pry people's eyes away from Fortnite are few and far between. Those games have to be really good and really popular and have really viral word-of-mouth marketing on social media. The players who spend most of their time playing forever games are not the type to be an early adopter into a new AAA title that comes out. But if you're spending hundreds of millions on a AAA release, you need as many early adopters as possible. Back in the good old days, a big game would release and it would take up, you know, let's say 50% of all available attention for a few months. But then that game's popularity would simmer down so that some other AAA game could come along and take up that attention instead. But nowadays, 50% of all players' attention is already taken up constantly by their favorite live.
Wow, I never thought about that killing Trump. Well, because, like, I always roped in League, Riot, and fucking, like, you know, what's the other one? What makes GTA? Oh, my God, Rockstar. I always, like, rope those in, because Rockstar's not really a live service in the sense that it's, like, a game that's going to last forever, but it's, like, Rockstar's like that in-between where it's a $70 game, they make a new one, but they update that game for, like, a decade. So I always assumed those were still just considered AAA. I never even thought that, like, League, Valorant, Fortnite, like, those kill COD. Like, they just ruin their credibility as well. I mean, I remember, y'all remember when COD World War II, the most forgettable Call of Duty, and I think it was actually a good COD. COD World War II dropped 2018. Fortnite peaked 2018, 2019. That game fell off so fucking fast when Fortnite dropped, it pulled all the players to Fortnite. Nobody played COD anymore. But it was a good game. Like, I sit back and I think back on World War II, and I was like, that was a good COD. Like, I had nothing wrong with that COD. There was no reason I shouldn't play it. Fortnite was just better.
Service game. That 50% never filters out. This means that AAA companies have less available attention to actually compete for. There's more games to play than ever before, and many of those games are being played for years on end instead of just a couple weeks. But these ultra-popular live service games don't just indirectly compete with other game devs. Sometimes they do it very, very directly. If you're a AAA dev and you want to make a sandbox crafting game, or a rhythm game, Fortnite isn't just competing with you because it's really popular and takes up people's time. Fortnite is literally, directly competing with you. They are making games exactly like yours, and they're doing it inside of Fortnite, with a pre-existing audience that is almost guaranteed.
I gotta say, Fortnite Festival's a vibe. I fuck with Fortnite Festival. I not many players on it. When I'm hopping on Fortnite off stream, it's Fortnite Festival. 2 a.m. Metallica. On the keys. Just jamming.
Guaranteed to at least attempt to try out their new game. This is a luxury that 90% of all game devs just simply do not have. And if you think that's bad, then go look at Roblox. Roblox is like an IP theft machine. They're not just making games in the same genre as you, they are literally making your game, with your IP and everything. If you want to go play a game that has Mario in it, you could go look at Nintendo's backlog of Mario games. Or you could look at the near infinite number of bootleg Mario games.
Okay, yeah, I don't like this point. Playing Nintendo Mario Odyssey is not the same as Survive Mario the Killer, okay? Mario Run, Mini Mario 2. These games fucking blow dick. They're bad, right? They're not. I think a better example would be like CSGO or like an FPS. Like there's other FPS shooters that do the same thing. Like COD versus, what's like the really popular FPS shooter game on Roblox? Not Counterblocks. What's the really popular FPS shooter on Roblox? That's literally Arsenal. Call of Duty or play Arsenal. Same game. Not same game, but they're like really good at, it's a really good FPS game.
Of varying quality that users have been creating over the past 15 years on Roblox. Are 99% of all of these games
Okay.
really bad? Yeah, they are. But garbage or not, they are competition. And Nintendo is insane.
The original Roblox brain rot is Shrek, and I will stand on that. When I was in like late middle school, early high school, I used to play all the Shrek brain rot games. They were the fucking... Shrek was the start. Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life was like the early Toon Sahur. Like the lead up to those Brain Rock games was Shrek.
Mainly litigious, and even they have copycat games on Roblox. If Nintendo can't sue the copyright infringement out of Roblox, then truly no one in the world can. It's over. AAA games...
Oh my god, I forgot about Pal World. Bro, y'all remember when Pal World... I never played it. But y'all remember when Pal World was popping? Is that game still big? It has 328,000 reviews. I remember that was like hype though. That was like over a year ago. Chat. Right now, a year and 6 months after release, Pal World still averages 40,000 players. All-time peaked at 2 million. But like right now in the 24-hour peak, it's at 51,000. Bro, there's still a shitload of people playing Pal World.
AAA games have been fighting in this war for a while now. And while this battle is certainly hurting their popularity, I don't think it's gonna kill AAA games.
Roblox games has more? Yeah, but dude, here's the thing. Roblox is free. Pal World costs money, so active players on Pal World is worth more.
Outright. Instead, I think it's gonna kill a specific type of AAA game. What I like to call the throw shit at a wall type of AAA game. You know, the type where the company just throws their infinite money from their infinite money printer at the game and hopes that big money in equals big money out. Once upon a time, this was a viable business strategy, which is why there's still companies trying to do it. But with all this added extra competition that used to be much smaller, this strategy just isn't gonna work anymore. You actually have to earn your player base, and not just with money, but with interesting stories and interesting gameplay. You can't just buy your way to $1 billion game anymore. Or you could just, you know, only ever release sequels to your pre-existing...
Well, I think the problem with a lot of AAA games that just throw money at shit is, like, the game is so fucking poor. It's not even the story. It's not the graphics. The story's good. The graphics good. It's all good. When you launch that game, I'm not going to say any game names. When you launch a fucking shitty AAA game, it's unbearable to learn how to play. And I think that is... I'm not talking about story games. I'm talking about, like a multiplayer... Like, I'm not trying to say the name. You could probably think of a few games. You're trying to learn how to play the game. Boring. Boring, repetitive. They're throwing you this weird story too rapidly. It feels like I'm in a Marvel movie in the first 30 minutes where nothing makes sense, but there's never a resolution, and it still never makes sense. I'm just talking to fucking some random guy that's teaching me why I need to do this and that, and it just sucks.
Popular games for the rest of time. Or better yet, just make remasters of all your existing games, like 10 times in a row. You know, that's probably also a successful way to make...
Hey, that works for me. I'll play Last of Us Remastered any day of the fucking week.
Games. Now, there's also something to be said about AAA games being released in completely garbage, unfinished states despite their huge budgets. But sadly, I think that is probably going to be a story for another video. AAA games used to be the main way we played games, but now they're just becoming part of a bigger whole. With indie games and live service games...
It really did used to be like, there wasn't indie shit. I think it was like, it's also PCs, bro. That's what it is. More and more people get computers. And with computers comes Steam. Steam comes indie devs. Prior to that, there wasn't a lot of people that had computers, so you were only playing on console. And if you're only playing on console, you're not playing a Lethal Company game. You're like, when you had like the OG, like at Xbox One, PS4 days, what were you playing? You maybe played this one indie game that was like $4, but it would suck, right? I remember there was this one racing game that I would play, and it was like, okay. But the majority of games that you played were all $60. They were all made by EA, Ubisoft, and all these big companies. And nothing wrong with those companies. It's more so just like, that was the era. It was just like, you're playing games that are made by billion-dollar companies, and that's it, because those are the only games that you have available. The second you get a PC, your horizon is broadened, and now you're just not ever going to return.
Now taking up their own enormous share of the pie. And there is a third contender, that being mobile games, which in terms of revenue...
Nah. I think mobile games are still heavily dominated by big companies like Supercell. Like what mobile game, like outside of like Block Blast and other like small games that you might play for fun here and there, like Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, you know, fucking Brawl Stars, like those are all like Supercell. Like I feel like they dominate the mobile gaming space. I think the majority of like indie mobile games are just shit fucking like just spin-offs of the same bullshit like this, and they just pump it full of ads. You play it for a day and then give up. They make $5 off of you and then call it a day.
Is bigger than the entire rest of the gaming industry combined. But mobile games deliver a much different experience from traditional PC and console games. So it doesn't really feel like these guys are actually part of this war whatsoever. More just like a giant amalgamation.
I don't think they're a part of the war. I think mobile games have their own dedicated space and attention span for people. Like when you're taking a shit, you're on a plane. Like, those are times you're not really going to be playing, like, fucking AAA games anyway.
Of microtransaction-fueled hellscapes that exist on an island all on their own. But all of this does mean that AAA game companies have got to be careful, because you can only throw hundreds of millions of dollars into doomed projects so many times. Make this mistake one too many times, and these guys are going to take your throne and take it permanently. Thanks for watching.
Bro, the worst is whenever I accept an ad offer for a game that looks fire and I play it on release day, but on release, I check the reviews of the game and it's like 23% positive. And I'm like, well, I signed a contract, so... And then I'm stuck playing the game, right? And some people are like, well, just don't play it. Or they call me a sellout. I'm like, bro, I'm still just going to rip the game. You don't have to watch. If I ever... Like, I want to know that. I fuck with the people that watch my sponsored streams for games. And a lot of the games I do sponsors for, I only try to pick games that I think are fun. Like, if I accept 5 sponsors, I turn down 15. But there's still going to be shit ones in that batch that I just couldn't predict would be bad because they're just coming out on release. So I'm just getting a preview of the game like everybody else. And some people will be like, dude, why are you playing this? I'm like, you don't have to watch. You know, you could, like, leave the stream. Like, if you don't want to see it. WVid, though. All right, we're going to watch one of these two, and then...